Welcome to Read Alchemy. Let me tell you about something that happened to me one evening. It was a normal day. I had finished work and I was walking home with my friend Daniel. We were both tired. We talked about our day as we walked down the street. "I can't wait to get home," Daniel said. "Me neither," I replied. We were only a few minutes away from my apartment. The weather was cool and the street was quiet. I could already imagine sitting on the sofa and relaxing. When we reached my building, I walked toward the entrance. I put my hand into my pocket. Nothing. I checked my other pocket. Still, nothing. I stopped walking. Daniel looked at me. "What happened?" "I can't find my keys." He laughed. "Check your pockets again." "I already did." "Check your bag." I took off my backpack and opened it. I looked inside carefully. There was my notebook, my wallet, my phone charger, a bottle of water, but no keys. I started feeling worried. Maybe they are in my jacket. I checked my jacket. Nothing. I checked my trousers again. Still nothing. Daniel looked at me. "Are you sure you brought them with you?" I thought for a moment. "Yes, I think so." "Think carefully." I closed my eyes for a second. I tried to remember leaving home that morning. I remembered locking the door. I remembered putting something into my pocket, but I couldn't remember if it was my keys. "Wait," I said. "I think I had them this morning." Daniel looked at the door. "Then where are they now?" "I don't know." I looked at the locked door. Suddenly, the situation felt much more serious. The door was locked, we were outside, and my keys were missing. Missing means something is not where it should be. For example, my phone is missing. My wallet is missing. My keys are missing. I looked at Daniel. "What should we do?" He shrugged. "First, let's check everything again." So we started searching. I opened every pocket in my backpack. Daniel checked the ground around us. Maybe I had dropped the keys somewhere. We looked near the entrance. Nothing. We looked beside the stairs. Nothing. We checked under a small bench. Still nothing. "Maybe you left them at work," Daniel said. I shook my head. "I don't think so." "Why not?" "Because I remember locking my office before I left." "That doesn't mean you took your house keys." He had a point. "You're right." I started thinking again. Where had I been after work? I had gone to the supermarket. Then I had stopped at a small cafe. Then I had walked home. Suddenly, I remembered something. I bought a coffee. Okay, and I paid at the cafe. So, I looked at him. I might have taken my keys out of my pocket when I paid. Daniel smiled. "Then maybe you left them at the cafe." "Maybe, but we don't know." I looked at the time. The cafe was about 10 minutes away. It was getting late. I wasn't sure what to do. We could go back to the cafe, or we could stay here and keep searching. Then Daniel said, "Let's retrace our steps." Retrace our steps means to go back through the places you visited before. It's a very useful expression when you lose something. For example, I lost my phone, so I retraced my steps. We decided to retrace our steps. First, we would check the supermarket, then the cafe. Then we would come back to the apartment. I put my backpack on again. "Let's go," I said. We started walking back down the street. I still hoped the keys were somewhere in my bag, but deep down, I had a feeling that I had left them somewhere. And if I was right, we had a long evening ahead of us. Let's pause for a moment and learn some useful words from what just happened. Pocket is the small part of your clothes where you can keep things. My keys are in my pocket. Locked means closed with a lock. The door is locked. Missing means something cannot be found where it should be. My keys are missing. Search means to look carefully for something. I'm searching for my keys. Check means to look at something to make sure it is there or correct. Let me check my bag. Drop means to accidentally let something fall. I think I dropped my keys. And retracing your steps means going back through the places you visited before. Now let's practice some expressions from our story. I can't find my keys. Let me check my bag. Are you sure? I don't know where they are. Maybe I left them somewhere. Let's check again. What should we do? Let's retrace our steps. Now shadow them naturally. I can't find my keys. Let me check my bag. Are you sure? I don't know where they are. Maybe I left them somewhere. Let's check again. What should we do? Let's retrace our steps. Excellent. Now, don't think of these as separate sentences to memorize. Imagine yourself standing outside your apartment. It's getting late. Your door is locked. Your keys are missing. And you are about to walk back through the city to find them. That's exactly what we were doing. We were heading back to the supermarket, and I still had no idea where my keys were. But I was about to remember something important. Something that happened earlier that evening, and that memory might finally tell us where the keys were. Let's keep going. Daniel and I were already walking back toward the supermarket. I was trying hard to remember everything I had done after work. The more I thought about it, the more confused I became. Okay, Daniel said. Let's start from the beginning. Good idea. So you left work at about 5. Yes. Then I walked to the supermarket. Did you take your keys out there? I don't remember. That's the problem. We both laughed. I checked my pockets again. Nothing. I checked my backpack again. Still nothing. I can't believe this, I said. Daniel smiled. Don't worry, we'll find them. I wanted to believe him, but I was beginning to feel worried. What if someone found them? What if I dropped them on the street? What if they are still inside the supermarket? I tried not to think about all the possibilities. Possibility means something that may happen or may be true. For example, maybe I left them at the cafe. That's one possibility. When we reached the supermarket, I looked around the entrance. There were many people coming in and going out. I tried to remember where I had walked. I think I entered through this door. Okay, let's look around. We walked inside. I remembered buying some bread, milk, and fruit. I pushed a shopping basket through the store. Then I remembered something. Wait. Daniel stopped. What? I put my phone in my pocket when I came in. And my keys were probably in the same pocket. Probably? I don't know. We walked toward the first section of the supermarket. I looked around carefully. Nothing. We checked near the shelves. Nothing. Then I remembered paying at the checkout. I think I was standing over there. We walked toward the checkout area. There were several lines. I looked at each one. Then I saw a woman working behind one of the counters. I walked toward her. Excuse me. Yes, I think I may have lost my keys here. She looked at me. When did you lose them? About an hour ago. What do they look like? I paused. They're small and silver. Anything else? They have a black key ring. A key ring is a small ring that holds your keys together. The woman thought for a moment. Did you check your bag? Yes, I checked it several times. Did you check your pockets? Yes, she smiled. Sometimes we look everywhere except the obvious places. Daniel laughed. That's exactly what he's been doing. I smiled. Yes, that's true. The woman checked a small box behind the counter. There were several lost items inside. A wallet, some sunglasses, a phone, and a few sets of keys. My heart started beating faster. Could they be here? She picked up one set of keys. No, then another, not these. Then she picked up a third set. These? I looked closely. No, those aren't mine. She put them back. I'm sorry, we don't have your keys. Okay, thank you for checking. You're welcome. I stepped away from the counter. I felt disappointed. For a moment, I didn't know what to do next. Daniel looked at me. Let's think. He pointed toward the exit. You said you went to the cafe after this, right? Yes. Then let's go there. I nodded, but before we left, I looked down at the floor. Something shiny was lying near my shoe. I bent down. It was a small metal object. My heart jumped. Wait. I picked it up. It wasn't my key, it was a coin. Daniel laughed. Nice try. I laughed too. At least I found something. We walked out of the supermarket. The cafe was only a few minutes away. As we walked, I tried to remember what had happened there. I remembered ordering coffee. I remembered sitting near the window. I remembered taking out my wallet. Then I remembered something else. I had put my wallet on the table, but where were my keys? I couldn't remember. Maybe you left them on the table, Daniel said. Maybe. Let's find out. We reached the cafe. I looked through the window. It was still open. There were several customers inside. We walked in. A staff member came toward us. "Hi, can I help you?" I smiled. "Yes, I think I may have left something here earlier." "What did you leave?" "My keys." She looked at me. "What do they look like?" I described them again. "They're small and silver with a black key ring." She thought for a moment. "Where were you sitting?" "Near the window." She pointed toward a table. "That one?" "Yes, that's where I was sitting." We walked toward the table. I looked at the chair. Then I looked underneath the table. Nothing. I checked the floor. Nothing. I looked at Daniel. He looked at me. Then the staff member said, "Wait, I remember seeing some keys earlier." My eyes opened wide. "Really?" "Yes, let me check." She walked toward the counter. Daniel and I followed her. She opened a drawer, then another. Finally, she stopped. "I think I found them." She took out a small set of keys. I immediately recognized them. My keys. I couldn't believe it. I took them from her. I checked the black key ring. I checked each key. They were definitely mine. I laughed. "I can't believe we found them." Daniel smiled. "Where were they?" The staff member pointed at the drawer. "Someone found them under the table." I felt a huge sense of relief. "Thank you so much." "You're welcome." I put the keys safely into my backpack. This time, I wasn't going to put them in my pocket. Daniel looked at me. "So, are we going home now?" I smiled. "Yes, definitely." We walked out of the cafe. The problem was solved. But as we started walking home, I realized something. The keys had been in the cafe the entire time. We had spent almost an hour worrying and searching. Sometimes the answer is much closer than you think. Let's look at some useful vocabulary from this part of the story. Possibility means something that may be true or may happen. Checkout is the place in a store where you pay. Shelf is a flat surface where things are kept or displayed. Counter is the surface or desk where customers are served or pay. Key ring is a small ring that holds keys together. Drawer is a box-like part of a desk or cabinet that you pull open. Recognize means to know something because you have seen it before. And relief is the comfortable feeling you have when a problem is over. Now let's practice some expressions from the story. "I think I may have lost my keys." What do they look like? "Did you check your bag?" "Let me check." "Could they be here?" "I'm sorry, we don't have them." "Wait, I found them. I can't believe it. Thank you so much." Now shadow them naturally. "I think I may have lost my keys." "What do they look like?" "Did you check your bag?" "Let me check." "Could they be here?" "Wait, I found them. I can't believe it. Thank you so much." Excellent. We had finally found the keys. We were relieved. We were tired. And we were ready to go home. But there was still one small problem. We had to walk all the way back to my apartment. And when we arrived, I realized something that made both of us laugh. The story wasn't quite finished yet. Daniel and I had finally found my keys. They were safe inside my backpack. We were tired, but we were also laughing about the whole situation. "At least we found them," Daniel said. "Yes, and next time I'm checking my bag before I panic." "Good idea." We continued walking toward my apartment. This time I felt relaxed. The problem was over, or at least I thought it was. When we reached my building, I took the keys out of my backpack. I held them up. "Here they are." Daniel laughed. "Finally." I put the key into the lock. I turned it. Nothing happened. I tried again. Still nothing. I looked at the key, then I looked at the lock. "This is strange." "What?" "The key isn't turning." Daniel came closer. "Maybe you're using the wrong key." I looked at the keys. There were 3 of them. One was for my apartment. One was for the building entrance. And the third one was for my mailbox. I tried another key. It didn't work. I tried the third one. Nothing. Daniel looked at me. "Are you sure this is your apartment?" I laughed. Very funny. But then I looked at the number on the door. Apartment 204. I checked my key again. I suddenly remembered something. "I think I have another key." "Another key?" "Yes, I have a spare key." A spare key is an extra key that you keep in case you lose your main key. I opened my backpack again. I searched through the small inside pocket. Nothing. I checked the front pocket. Nothing. Then I remembered. I had left my spare key at home. I looked at Daniel. That's not very helpful. He laughed. No, it isn't. I tried the original key again. This time I pushed the door slightly while turning the key. Click, the lock moved. I looked at Daniel. It worked. Finally, I opened the door. We stepped inside. I put my backpack on the floor, then I sat down on the sofa. I was exhausted. Daniel sat beside me. That was a long evening. It really was. I thought about everything that had happened. First, I couldn't find my keys. Then we went back to the supermarket. Then we went to the cafe. Then we found the keys. And finally, even after finding them, we couldn't open the door. It was almost funny. Almost. Daniel started laughing. What? You spent an hour looking for your keys. Yes. You found them. Yes. And then you couldn't use them. I started laughing too. Okay, you don't have to remind me. We both laughed. After a few minutes, Daniel got up. I should go home. Thanks for helping me tonight. No problem. He walked toward the door, then he stopped. Wait, what? He pointed at the small table near the entrance. What's that? I looked at the table. There was a small set of keys sitting there. I stared at them. Daniel stared at me. I slowly walked toward the table. I picked them up. They were my spare keys. I had left them there earlier that morning. I couldn't believe it. Daniel started laughing again. So you had a spare key the whole time? I covered my face with my hand. Apparently. Why didn't you check the table? I forgot. We both laughed. This time I couldn't even defend myself. The entire evening had started because I forgot my keys. Then I found them at the cafe. Then I remembered my spare key. And finally, I discovered that my spare key had been sitting right beside the door. Sometimes we make a problem much bigger because we don't stop and think. Apparently means according to what you can see or understand. For example, apparently, the shop is closed today. Apparently, he forgot his wallet. Another useful word is spare. Spare means extra. For example, I have a spare phone charger. Do you have a spare pen? I keep a spare key at home. I picked up the keys and put them in a safe place. This time, I knew exactly where they were. Daniel opened the door. See you tomorrow. See you. Then he left. I closed the door behind him. I walked into the kitchen and made myself a glass of water. I was tired, but I was smiling. The whole situation had been frustrating. Frustrating means something makes you feel annoyed because you cannot easily solve it. For example, losing your keys is frustrating. Waiting for a long time can be frustrating. But now it was over, and I had learned a few important things. First, when you lose something, don't panic. Stop. Think, try to remember where you last used it. Then retrace your steps. Second, check the obvious places. Sometimes we search everywhere except the place where the thing actually is. And third, if you have a spare key, remember where you keep it. I definitely needed to remember that one. Let's review some useful vocabulary from this part of the story. Spare means extra. Lock is the thing that keeps a door closed. Turn means to move something around, like turning a key. Entrance is the place where you enter a building. Mailbox is a box where you receive letters. Exhausted means extremely tired. Frustrating means something makes you feel annoyed because it is difficult to solve. And apparently means according to what you now understand or see. Now let's practice some useful expressions. The key isn't turning. Maybe you're using the wrong key. I have a spare key. Let me check. It worked. Thanks for helping me. I should have checked. I forgot. That's not very helpful. Now shadow them naturally. The key isn't turning. Maybe you're using the wrong key. I have a spare key. Let me check. It worked. Thanks for helping me. I should have checked. I forgot. That's not very helpful. Excellent. By the time Daniel left, I was ready to forget about the whole evening. But before going to bed, I looked at my keys one more time. I put them in the same place where I could easily find them the next morning. Then I smiled. Tomorrow, I promised myself I would check my keys before leaving home. But as I walked toward my bedroom, I suddenly remembered something. I hadn't checked my bag for another important thing, and after everything that had happened that evening, I wasn't taking any chances. I opened my bag, and what I found inside made me laugh again. After Daniel left, I finally went to bed. I was tired, but I was still thinking about the keys. I couldn't believe I had spent so much time looking for something that was right in front of me. Before going to sleep, I put my keys on the small table near the door. This time, I wanted to know exactly where they were. I also put my wallet and phone beside them. Everything is ready for tomorrow, I said to myself. Then I went to bed. The next morning, I woke up at 7. I got dressed and walked toward the kitchen. I was about to make breakfast when I remembered something, my keys. I walked to the small table near the door. They were there. I smiled. Good. Then I checked my wallet. It was there too. My phone was there. Everything was ready. I picked up my bag and opened it, and that's when I remembered the thing I had forgotten the night before. My lunch. I had prepared my lunch the previous evening, but I had forgotten to put it in my bag. I opened the refrigerator. There it was. I laughed. Not again. I took the lunch from the refrigerator and put it in my bag. Then I checked everything one more time. Keys, wallet, phone, lunch. I looked at the table. Nothing was missing. I was finally ready. Before leaving, I looked at the door. Then I looked at my keys. I thought about the previous evening. Losing something can turn a simple evening into a big problem, but I had learned a useful habit. Check before you leave. It only takes a few seconds. I locked the door and put my keys safely into my pocket. Then I started walking to work. On the way, I thought about what had happened. At first, I had felt worried. Then I had become confused. We had searched everywhere. We had retraced our steps. We had asked people for help. And finally, we had found the keys. But the biggest lesson wasn't really about keys. It was about staying calm when something goes wrong. Stay calm means not becoming too worried or angry in a difficult situation. For example, stay calm and think about what to do. When something goes wrong, try to stay calm. I realized that panic doesn't usually solve a problem. Thinking clearly does. If you lose something, stop for a moment. Ask yourself, when did I last have it? Where did I use it? Where did I go after that? Then retrace your steps. This simple method can help you find many things. Your phone, your wallet, your glasses, your keys, anything you may have left somewhere. Later that day, I told one of my coworkers about the story. I said, I had a terrible evening yesterday. What happened? I lost my keys. Did you find them? Yes, but that's not even the funny part. I told her the whole story. She started laughing. So where were they? At the cafe. And you had a spare key? Yes. Where was it? I smiled. On the table beside my door. She laughed. You really had a difficult evening. I know. Then she said, at least you learned something. Definitely. I had learned to keep important things in the same place. I had learned to check my pockets before leaving, and I had learned not to panic when something went wrong. Those are simple lessons, but simple habits can save you a lot of trouble. Trouble means a problem or difficulty. For example, I don't want to get into trouble. Losing your keys can cause a lot of trouble. That evening, when I came home from work, I opened the door easily. My keys were safely in my pocket. I put them on the small table, the same place. Every day, that became my new habit, and I haven't forgotten my keys since. Well, not often. Let's review some of the useful vocabulary from our story. Habit means something you do regularly. Calm means relaxed and not worried. Panic means to suddenly feel very afraid or worried. Previous means something that happened before. Trouble means a problem or difficulty. Safe means protected from danger or loss. Remember means to keep something in your mind. And forget means to fail to remember something. Now let's practice some useful everyday expressions. Where did I leave it? I can't find it. Let me check. I'll retrace my steps. Don't panic. Let's stay calm. I found it. What a relief. I should have checked my bag. I'll be more careful next time. Now shadow them naturally. Where did I leave it? I can't find it. Let me check. I'll retrace my steps. Don't panic. Let's stay calm. I found it. What a relief. I should have checked my bag. I'll be more careful next time. Excellent. And that was the story of the day we forgot the keys. It started with a normal evening. Then one small mistake created a long search. We checked our pockets. We checked the supermarket. We visited the cafe. We asked for help. We finally found the keys. And then we discovered that the spare key had been sitting at home the entire time. It was frustrating. It was tiring. But in the end, it was also funny. And sometimes that's how life is. Things don't always go according to plan. You lose something. You forget something, you make a mistake, but you can stop, think, and try again. You don't have to panic, you don't have to give up. Just take one step at a time, and remember the English from today's story. I can't find it. Let me check. Maybe I left it somewhere. Let's retrace our steps. Could you help me? I found it. What a relief. I'll be more careful next time. These are simple sentences, but they are useful sentences, and the best way to learn them is to use them when you imagine a real situation. So next time you can't find your keys, don't panic. Take a breath. Check your pockets. Check your bag. Think about where you were, and then retrace your steps. Thank you for learning with me today. Keep listening. Keep practicing, and hopefully, don't forget your keys.